Good evening, everybody. Uh, this is the All Nations Res Recovery Wellbriety Group. And, we appreciate everybody that was able to come out tonight. My name is Barry Botone, Barry B, and I am an alcoholic and I'm an addict. So, we decided to have a speaker meeting this month. Usually we get somebody from the community to come out and share their experience, strength, and hope. But we figured, yeah, we were tired of that. Yeah, no, we like to see things from every perspective. We like to validate everybody that was involved when we were going through our process. So I'm very proud today to have my nieces up here with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves. Whoever wants to go first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carly Ty Flynow. Very happy to be here with you all today. So, yeah.
Oh,
Dus naasihan Maya Levi. Hi, my name is Maya Levi, and I come happy to be here.
thank you, ladies. So I thought that one of the goals, when we started doing these live streams, when we started, kind of getting on here and recovering out loud, it was one of the goals was to provide a safe space for people in recovery to come and tell their journey. But there's we always hear it from the alcoholic and the addict side. And we felt like it was important that we hear it from a perspective that really isn't talked about a lot. I was the child of two alcoholics. My kids were the kids of two alcoholics. So it's like the generational curse. We're watching how that is being transformed. But today we get to talk about how when their families come into recovery, we want to talk about the positive impact that it's had in other people's lives. Mainly the children. Most of my kids were grown by the time I got sober. And fortunately, I have two younger kids, a 10 and a 13-year-old, that get to witness, who I am as a sober native, as a sober dad today. And my older kids, they didn't get that experience, but now my grandkids, they're here today, Alana and Alani and Nova, and I'm proud to say that through my process, that they have never seen me drunk or high, and they're the only two people in my family that have never seen me that way. So I'm very proud of that fact. So what what we're trying to provide here is, just a little perspective, as to, we know what the positive things about these young ladies. They're very active in their community. We see them not afraid to get up and get the mic and talk. Maya comes to our meetings. She's not afraid to get up and express her feelings. And I I always think that means a lot. To me. To see how far she's come in her journey. So, but also with my niece Carly, she's a spokesman for our Res Recovery Gord clan. And she's had the opportunity to go to conferences with us and speak about how the culture has impacted her in a positive way. So I'm going to give Carly a chance to kind of talk about maybe your experience with what addiction looked like in your life.
Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, when I decided to run for the All Nations Discovery Core Clan Senior Princess, it was because I grew up with a dad who struggled very badly with addiction. It was just kind of hard seeing stuff and like growing up with someone like that. So, and I never really grew up with people who would talk about it, or they would usually be very embarrassed to talk about it. And so, whenever I heard that these guys were given the opportunity for someone to do so, um, I went for it, and I'm very glad I did because it's made me more comfortable in talking about topics that people are very scared to talk about. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I think it's very important that you took a healthy risk. And I know that was something I was always scared to pull the trigger on. It held me back in life. So I want to commend you for the role that you have played in our community. So, and with Maya, like sitting back and just knowing your dad for so many years, and understanding, I would have to say, maybe a question that I don't want to you just throw your dad under the bus, but yeah, but and if I ask a question that you don't want to answer, that's fine too. But I would just want to ask, when did you know that things were bad?
When I knew when it was really bad, it's just I didn't get to see him a lot when I was a little kid. He was still there. I always came over, and sometimes my mom didn't want me over there to see him the way he was back then. It just really wasn't a good image on him. And growing up, just like seeing him coming in and out, different ladies.
Who's your favorite?
Hey, hey, I can't say.
Bet you it was, yeah.
You already know. uh, Honestly, even though they're all, coming in and out, I still, they're still like really good people. Other than like their addictions and like whatever they're going through, whatever diseases they're going through, they're still pretty good people. I love talking to them, even though Grandma told me not to. Don't be going in their room. Not like, but yeah, it was seeing that him coming in and out and not being able to see him every day as I can now, which I'm very grateful. Just like I knew it was bad when I first moved in to Arena, and I was able to see him more because I took that opportunity to be with him more, see with him, talk with him, and you know and once Aaliyah, my little baby sister, she came in, a whole lot of stuff started going down, and it eventually got to the point where she got taken away from them because of their diseases, which to me, seeing little baby Aaliyah go with my aunties, which I'm grateful she went to her aunties because they knew everything. They knew how to be sacred. They know how to make they know how to be. They know how to make dresses. They know all the sacred things. I'm very grateful they got to take care of her and watch over her and cook for her and everything. And yeah, just seeing like my dad go away for a while and seeing Aaliyah get taken and going to my aunties and not being able to like connect was just that's when I knew when I was really just the breaking point.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And just watching your dad through this whole process, I'm very proud. Very proud of what he's been able to accomplish. And it's like that's I always think like sometimes I forget like that's why we do this. But jump back over here to Carly. So I understand, that I've heard you talk, about different times about what it was like, and what is one of the things that kept you positive?
One of the things that kept me positive is I was very fortunate to have kind of like older people around me. One that immediately comes to mind is my grandma Belva. The way she talked to me was very I don't know, it's just one that no one can ever talk to me the way she did, cuz she never talked bad about my dad. Usually when you go with people, they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, they need to stop doing that or whatever." Somehow she could always find something positive to like look upon. And it reminded me today, you did your podcast thing and you said, instead I instead of fear, I have faith. And like it immediately like reminded me of my grandma, because that's always what she said, don't worry about everything that everyone else got's going on, just gotta kind of just want more better for yourself. So I think she was like the positive thing I always tried to like look for and still do till this day.
Oh yeah, I knew your grandma built.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody in that community knows. In that whole county, in this whole tribe, we all knew Belva. So that's great. Also, with you, Maya, what was something? Where did you find strength to stay positive when we all know you could have easily have went the other way? Where did you find the strength to stay positive?
I found the strength of being positive by the people around me. Like I found it from my youth council, my friends, and you know, they all had like people going through their lives where they've like went through all types of stuff, and they told me to just keep faith, like just keep believing that my dad was really like getting good out there. I know deep in my heart, no matter what everybody was telling me how bad he was or how crazy he was acting, I knew deep in my heart that he was doing good. I knew that he wanted to be better. I knew that he just wanted to be better for me, my brothers, and
Mhm.
all the other kids that I don't know of.
Missing link.
I'm kidding. I know him. Yeah. But yeah. but but yeah, I just kept faith and seeing him coming back home, and even when I was little, just seeing him on the summer weekends gave me faith where I get to spend time with him. So
Yeah. So I love the fact that both of you all kept saying it was the people around you, and I get that. I understand that. Because I was the type that went the complete opposite way. Something good, I ran from it. Something bad, I thought that was who I was. So I think that's very important that if there was something that you could say, Carly, to somebody who may be experiencing what you're going through or what you went through, uh, you know, how could you encourage them?
Mm, I just say it gets better. I feel like when you're going through something like that, you think, oh, the world's ending or whatever. But truly it does, just keep praying and keep like just having faith, like she said, because that's the only thing we can rely on at the end of the day. We can't rely on, well, dang, hold up. Just to have, like I said, faith and just always look on the positive and don't focus on the negative, because it gets better. It truly does. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Miss Maya. Um, you know, um, what what do you feel like you could say to somebody who maybe, because when a child knows how to keep these secrets and they know how to, they don't want to get their parent in trouble, but they also understand that, their parent needs help. What would you want to say to those kids that maybe don't have this opportunity?
I'd say to really believe in them. Like, even when I was little, I still had my doubts about my dad. I still like thought he wasn't gonna make it because every day it was just something new, something crazy happening. But yeah, I just say just keep faith, keep remembering on how you guys were, even without all that stuff. Even though you'll go through like arguments or over like little things, going through like a deep like trench of feelings just coming out. And I remember going through that with my dad. It was really hard. It was really hard night to go through. But I still remember that the next day, right in the morning, that he still came up to me and said sorry. I just say just keep your faith within him. Apologize, stay honest to yourself, and really believe in them. If even if they don't believe in themselves, someone has to.
Mm.
So just really keep a good open mind.
Thank you for sharing that. Because he was rugged. Yeah. No. Well, I think it's always a positive thing, when you have a crazy parent or two, and I also experienced what you young ladies did also, but I took it in another direction. You know, as we all know today, in schools, like the kids that smoke weed, the kids that drink. You know, if you had a friend that you knew was going down the wrong road, Carly, I'll let you go first. What do you feel like um, you could say to them to help keep them on track?
Um, I probably just tell them that I don't know. I kind of just be there for them. I don't know what to say about that. I don't
Yeah.
know because with my dad, I tried to say like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, but I feel like when they like hear it, it makes them more upset, kind of, because they already
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
So I kind of just have to be there for them and kind of not support, but like kind of try to guide them, but just be there overall and just be there to listen if they ever need it, and just be their shoulder to cry on when they need it. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. Miss Maya?
What I say is that there's more to it than just like drinking and smoking,
Oh, yeah.
as it ruins your body within. And I be real with them. I'll tell them like how if they keep this up, it's really not gonna be healthy for them in the long way. And that there's more to life than just like doing those two
Mhm.
things, just like I remember seeing an old friend, I'm not gonna name names, but I remember seeing her and she was really going through it because of her father. Her father was also going through it. So and her mother like recently passed away.
Mm.
And that's what really like kicked it off for her. And I really didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see her going down the same route as her father does, because I see so much within her. I see so many opportunities and talents that she has within herself, and I keep telling her that. And yeah, I just tell them that you can distract yourself with many other things like hobbies and getting into active like sports and something like that. That it's really more to life than just being high for like a good second, as you have all your life to be doing whatever
Yeah.
and to just be like high for like an hour and or drunk for like a whole night. There's more like but yeah, that's what I would say.
That's cool. I like both perspectives. you know, just be there and supportive, you know, because, you know, me as a child of alcoholics, you know, I felt I could be in a room full of people, but I always felt like I was by myself, you know, and then also, you know, I grew up in a little bitty town in Western Oklahoma. Yeah, Thomas, Oklahoma. You know, and you know, it was I moved to El Reno, and it was like you know, it's kind of like a culture shock. You know, like I came from a town where we were very proud of our, you know, of being Cheyenne. You know, and then I moved to El Reno, and like kids didn't even know what tribe they were. You know, and I see where that disconnect was happening. You know, at a very young age, and you know, I felt fortunate. I felt fortunate that I was raised in the community that I was raised in to know who I was, but that still didn't stop me from, you know, of experimenting. You know, and I felt like it was on a different level because I watched, you know, so many of my family members on over here on my dad's side, you know, just waste away, you know, like never knew what it was to be sober, you know, never really had a chance. So, you know, I appreciate, you know, you all both willing to share, you know, but is there a certain event that, I'll start with you, Maya, first. Um, what is the biggest difference? You know, something that, what made you know that your dad was different when he came home from?
What was different is that um he was more responsible. He talked to me more. Oh my gosh. I don't want to throw him under the bus or nothing.
Go ahead. Go ahead. He said,
But no, he just like he connected with me more. You know, he
yeah,
just like talked to me, and you know, even if I give him like the off tone, he'll immediately like ask me, "Hey, are you okay? You good? What's up? What's going on?" And I'm just, you know, just I'll tell him. Or if it's nothing, then you know, I'll just tell him. And before then, he didn't really do that much. He didn't really do that, which back then I really needed it from him. But I'm very happy that he does now, and seeing that difference within him, and seeing how happy he is without all of that disease and all of that virus and everything. Um, it was just more peaceful, you know,
yeah.
less yelling, less ruggedness, being no more ladies, being a good guy, good apple. You know, just felt very peaceful at home.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Well, he's still regular, but he's sober. So, yeah. Well, Carly, you know, I know your journey's like a little bit different. Um, you know, if there was something that you could maybe express to your dad today, what would it be?
Um, Probably that I'm proud of him. You know, for the ones that don't know, my dad is still incarcerated. He's still in prison. He's been there for about 3 years. And I'm gonna kind of go off the question you asked earlier, but whenever my dad first went in there, he was a very angry person. Like every call that we got from my dad was just always yelling, you know, kind of just like he was blaming everyone else for his problems and why he was there. But we ended up separating from him for a cool minute, didn't talk to my dad. But later on down the way, you know, we got a call from him and it was just so totally different. You could just tell it was a totally different person on the other end of that phone. And yeah, I tell him that I'm so proud of him because, you know, a long time ago, I don't think I was kind of getting at that point where I was kind of losing my faith in my dad because you want something for so long and just that wait, that patience that you have to have, it was getting kind of stressful. So yeah, I tell him that I'm very proud of him and I hope that he continues that when he gets out. So yeah.
That's good. You know, I'm glad you're able to share that with us because, you know, that's something that's also not really talked about. is when your parents are getting incarcerated. Like nobody's going to, yeah. Well, I had two cousins in Thomas that used to argue about that, but regular kids, yeah, they're, they're not. It's just something, like because you carry that shame and guilt, right? Like when your dad was going through it, you kind of felt, the weight of, and you didn't even know what was going on. You just knew that there was something crazy happening, and kids carry that. There's one thing that I want to, it feels like we're talking about breaking generational curses. I know I was a victim of that, and that's something that I handed down to my kids, and I have 27 kids. So, hey, I ain't got 27 kids, but, I got 7 kids, and it didn't just stop with me. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't realize the weight of what I was putting on my kids. And part of my process, both of my granddaughters are here tonight. And it's like I get the opportunity. I didn't get. I also had the opportunity with my kids, but I didn't realize it that I was messing that opportunity up. You know, um, and I'm very proud to say that my grandkids, with God willing, they will never ever be able to see me. They will never ever see their grandpa drunk or high. God willing. And that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. But what generational curse? And I'm not trying to give y'all any ideals, but y'all are both ladies, and you know, y'all's gonna grow up one of these days. What is one of the healing, generational healing things that you want to pass down to the next generation? I don't want to say your kids, because, but in that sense, like that's what I mean by the next generation. You know, what is something that you feel like that 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 through your dad, and we're not going to say your kids, but we're just going to say the next generation. What is something that you feel like you can get from your experience and pass that healing down to the generation behind you?
I'd say praying in the morning and praying at night. Because I see my dad, usually every morning, he's always smudging himself. He's burning up that sage and getting them all over, making sure he smell good. Yeah, not like buns. But anyways. But yeah, seeing that, even sometimes, even myself, I'll forget to go smudge with him. I can't lie about that. I can't lie. But seeing that he still keeps up with it, he still has that going, especially when he came back. He did that in the morning. He showed me, they used to live in a little apartment, and he showed me this closet. It was like his little praying spot where he had the little bowl of ash from leftover whatchamacallit? Coals. Yeah, the coals. And like what was it? Oh my gosh. And
The shell.
sage, the shell and the sage and like the sweetgrass.
Mm-hmm.
It was always that in there, and he showed me like many pages within the book, the big book of what he prayed to. And there's always a different verse for every day. And I remember just like when I come over, I'll just randomly go into that closet and I'll just feel the energy in there. It was a little itty closet, but I still felt connected with it. And I just flip over to a page, and it'll show me on how really deep and meaningful on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just like really for the next generation, I like teach them to pray, teach them to keep blessing themselves. Don't let that die down and keep, how we go do word dances, keep them dancing.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to, you're still dancing.
Make them.
And Leah don't want to dance, but I still make her. Yeah. But yeah, just keep blessing, keep dancing, keep doing everything sacred.
Good. That's a good answer. Carly?
Can you repeat the
Yes.
question?
What do you feel like you can what kind of healing practices or healing healing habits that you've grown, over your journey? What is something that you can pass down to the next generation, whether it's through culture, religion, faith? What is something that you feel like you can pass down to the next generation?
I think just staying inside the circle and dancing and singing, because when I was growing up, I didn't really do it. I wasn't out there a lot, but I find myself now as the princess, going to these events and or before being like, oh, I don't want to go. It's gonna be tiring or whatever. But every time my grandma or my auntie would be like, you'll feel so good if you go out there, if you do go. And they're always right. There's just something about it that makes me feel good after. So I think just staying inside the circle and continue doing so with others.
Yeah. So do you all have friends that you feel like want to be a part of the culture, but they don't know how, or they don't maybe have the exposure, or maybe somebody in their family isn't interested, or how would you encourage individuals in that scenario?
I just say, just go out there. It's so welcoming. Like I don't see a lot of people judge someone like,
Yeah.
oh, look at them, they haven't been out there. No, I don't really see that.
Yeah.
And then also, my grandma and auntie like make stuff. So if we do know somebody, we're like, oh well, if you need something, just let us know, and like we can
Mhm.
help you out. And yeah, just get them set up.
And well, thank you for that answer. I like that. Also for you, Maya, you being part of the youth council, and they make you all. Yeah. But but I think that it's about the exposure. Do you feel like there's other kids? Because there's a lot of natives in this community. How do you feel like they look at being a part of the culture?
Honestly, I know that they really be want to be in it, but just like they don't have the stuff for it, which is okay. It's like fine if you don't have all the things. Even for me with my regalia, I'm still working to get everything all together and trying to look, decent. And that's what really like kind of pushed me away from my culture when I was like back then. Cause I remember like going to Unity recently, and two of my friends that I was roomed up with, they didn't have no regalia. All they had was a skirt. That's all they had. And the whole time they just were wishing that they could come out and dance, but they didn't have like the right stuff. So I was very grateful that I had some extra things, like extra moccasins, some extra moccasins, and like some like extra regalia items that they'll need. I was happy to provide them shawls and to keep them connected. Just because you're like sitting on the sidelines and not just sitting down, not even like dancing or not, doesn't mean you're not part of the culture.
Yeah.
You're there. You're listening to everybody. You're watching them, and yeah, just like how I encourage them is just um to really like, even if you're just sitting there, just feel connected, get to really just keep going to everything. That's what I mean. Just keep going, be participating in everything as much as you can. Even at our meetings, we have some kids sitting down and not doing them. But whenever I see them, I feel so bad because they're missing out. They're missing out on all the games that we set up for them and all the activities and all the craft nights. They're really missing out. And I don't want them to be like feeling left out whenever the day comes to unity and they don't have everything like they don't have everything set up. So I just say to really encourage them is to really like help them be participate to really participate and really like keep them together.
Well, I like that. Like we always say around here, the culture is a solution. And there's one thing that I've noticed about, I was born in Thomas, but moved over here whenever I was a teenager, and I being native wasn't cool enough. Like just being native, it just wasn't cool enough for me. I looked into all these other cultures, and I tried to go find myself. So I think it's very important, that we encourage, our friends and relatives, to take part. And I've seen the positive impact that it's made in both of you all's lives. I love seeing you all get dressed or even not get, just throw on a show and take your baby sister out there. I love that for you ladies. So, um, is there any before we get into the comments, uh, Mr. Chabada? Was there any questions or anything? What kind of support made the biggest difference in your life? Either or both.
Staying in contact.
Staying in contact.
Keep
Staying
on
connected.
calling, staying connected, staying calling each other, texting, even by letter, just writing something, whatever way that keeps you with them, keeps you from making distance from each other.
Yeah.
Really keep that connection you have with them. Even then, when my dad was gone, he still called me like every day or every morning whenever he could. Because while he was out in California, he didn't get to have his phone much.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to pay attention and stuff. So yeah, and every time he got his phone, he'll immediately call me.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciated that because I get to check in on him, and he was telling me what's going on over there and what's
Mhm.
going on back at home and whatever is going on. And yeah, I say the really biggest support is just being there for each other.
What was the question again? What kind of support made the biggest difference in your life?
Um, like you said, being there for them, but I feel like for me to support them, it would be the encouragement from everyone else. When people talk to you like, oh, they'll be okay, they'll get better. That was very important to me, especially when it came from the a preacher that I grew up with. His name was Gerald. He just
Mm.
always had very encouraging words to just be there for him and don't lose faith in his journey that he's going on. So yeah, I feel like the encouragement of everyone around me.
That's good. That's good. Was there any more questions? What goals or dreams help to keep you moving forward? What do you want to do? Joe life.
Would you say what dreams?
What dreams or goals help you keep moving forward?
I think just like always wanting to be there for my family and never get, you know, separated from them or lost in, some type of stuff. Just always being together with my family and just wanting better for, this life that I was given because, we only got one. So just making it and living it the best way I can. So that's the dream I stick to, or the
Good answer.
goal.
I like that.
What was it again?
What is
What was it?
what dreams or goals helped you move forward? It's helping you to keep moving forward.
I'd say, yeah, to piggyback on what she said, really keeping the family together. No matter the hardships, no matter what really went on between each other, just keeping us connected. Because either way, he's my only dad. And of course, I had other father figures. Yeah. But he's my only real dad that I have. And he's the only, like,
Yeah, I
he's
know
the
what
only
you're
one,
saying.
And all these. Quit laughing. Y'all making me laugh. But yeah, just I only got like my real closest family that are really blood related to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I lose one of them or having the idea of like losing my dad again, it broke me. It really broke me. Because I remember the day he left, when he hugged me, said goodbye, I think I fainted. I really fainted in his arms because the idea of him gone really just like scared me. So yeah, just staying connected, keeping us together, keeping the culture alive.
Good answer. Good answer. Do we have any more questions? All right. Everybody is super proud of you all. And we're all proud of you. I know I couldn't have done this as a, you know, hell, I think I was in prison whenever I was y'all's age. you know, honestly, I went to prison when I was 16, so, just being able to sit up here with you ladies, and being able to show our support, I think it's very important that our community sees like the impact that these generational curses are having on our children. Because you know, uh, I think somehow, some way, in the shuffle of everything, nobody ever gets to say, "How does this make you feel?" You know, how did this affect you? And to see the ladies that you are, today, I think it's amazing. I think it's powerful. And I'm glad we got to get up here and acknowledge that. You know, there's just so many positives that I can take away from this, but I to me, it's just the fact that you're willing to get up here and get vulnerable. And to me, that just shows your growth. It shows your maturity. It shows that you're willing to take a healthy risk, and you know, and if anything, I just want you all to know, like, there's a whole community behind you. There's a whole community of us sober natives, that want to see you succeed. So, you just never know. I feel like this is a good step in stopping those generational curses in your family, and because a better you is a better me. So I appreciate you ladies willing to get up here and come up here with your crazy uncle, because we're always clowning, we're always clowning, and but I can appreciate that, and I just want you ladies to know, you'll always be able to turn to your uncle. I'm always going to try to lead you in the right direction. So I'm just proud, very proud of what you all are able to do for our community. Because maybe somebody watching this, will realize, like, hey, I don't want to do this to my kids no more. I don't want to hurt my family no more. you know. So I mean, I appreciate. Is there anything you all would like to say before we get off here? Shout out the homies. Oh wait, the questions, the
Hey,
comments are coming now.
hey.
Okay.
All right. What is something you are going to take from your experiences and pass them to the next generation, like nieces and nephews?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So, what is the experience or
That you're going to pass on?
that you're going to pass on to your nieces and nephews? What kind of auntie you gonna be?
Can you ask the question again?
What experiences that you had are you going to pass on?
What experiences that you've had are you going to pass on to your nieces and nephews?
I think from my experience is to, like as you said, staying connected with culture and community. As growing up, I got to stay here in Arena. You know, sometimes I'll come over to my dad's, and I remember going to school here in Darlington from pre-K all the way to second grade. And honestly, even if he was in and out during that time, it was I could say that was my best time here. But during that time, it was like really when my mom and my dad were really going through it. They're like constantly going back and forth at each other, and I remember times where I specifically have this memory in my head where my mom was just mad and she just drove out the driveway. He was just standing there, and I see his shadow standing in the doorway. Just like it was a really hard time during that. And coming over to Mustang and seeing how things were different. You know, I was with my mom, of course, I'm very grateful to be with her. And she
Mhm.
taught me so much. She taught me to be grateful, and I'm very happy that she like tried her best to keep me or make me spoiled, even though she didn't mean to. She did her very best, which is having me and my brother. And like even then, as she had that job, made her work days and nights, she'll still like have a little quote unquote surprise, and I'll just go see my dad. And being at Mustang, it was such a cultural difference because it was a bunch of Neanderthals, white people. Hey, I love them. They're my people. Yeah. But hey, it was just different being a Mustang, you know? Just like a whole bunch of people I really couldn't connect with. And there's only in that huge school in Mustang, there's only like two Native kids out of like thousands of them.
Yeah.
And they weren't even proud of being Native either. Like you said, they thought being Native wasn't cool. So just I literally remembered that they'll say there was something else. And I'm very grateful for that school that they had a separate Indian ed class where they like helped me get more connected with like other tribal members.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they didn't know how to explain it well. I used to think I was like Cherokee or something. 'Cause I had
You are.
or
Yeah.
I didn't know what tribe I was. I was so for real.
Yeah.
Like in elementary school, they didn't know how to teach it good. They
Yeah.
really didn't know because there wasn't like an actual like. I'm not saying I want to see a big brown guy with two braids like teaching me. I'm
Yeah.
well, over there. Yeah, you're supposed to be there. Yeah, but you know, it was just a lady, a little blonde lady who was Creek. Her grandma was probably princess or something. I don't know. But yeah, she taught me on like what it was and the history of Native Americans. And looking back at it now, it really wasn't accurate. But now where I got to come over to El Reno and I got to learn more about my culture than I ever could when I was out there. I'm still very grateful being a Mustang. They taught me a lot. it was so, even though education wise, it was kind of better, but hey, I got to learn more of my culture here because I got to connect with people who were like me. Because I remember literally being so embarrassed of just talking about fry bread out there. And they're all just looking at me crazy, like, ugh. Like, I remember I tried to pack my own lunch and they look at my stuff, look at my food. I had like a little piece of fry bread and like some other, like, I told them it was buffalo stew. And they're like, you eat buffalo? Ugh. Ugh. Thinking I'm all crazy. But coming over to El Reno, that was accepted. You know, that's basically like the regular food y'all have here, basically. Like,
Yeah.
swear, we even got it
Who
over
we
there.
are.
I done got my grandma to bring myself some, only for me. Yeah. I'm willing to share it. But yeah, just coming out here really helped me stay connected with culture, dance more, speak Arapaho more, which I never knew of while being in Mustang, and I got to learn it here at my high school, which I'm very very grateful. So I hope.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't forget what the question was. Oh, what
I'm talking
What-
too long.
what do you feel is something you can pass down to your nieces and nephews? Not your kids, your nieces and nephews.
The experience that I can pass down with them was probably whenever my dad just chose to do like everything else but be there for us. You know, I felt like at that time I felt kind of alone in everything because I grew up, well, still grow up. I have a bunch of brothers, so having to kind of be there for them and help my mom out, you know, it's kind of stressful. But, you know, I just tell my nieces and nephews, all of them, figure I'll have a bunch. But
Yeah.
I'll just tell them, you know, you're only alone. You're only alone if you make yourself. You know, there's so many people around that are willing to help and talk with you and, you know, guide you through it. So that's probably what I'd say. Just, you know, you have support through everything.
Well, thank you. Yeah, next question, please.
Would you give a tribal youth whose parents are currently struggling with addiction and are not considering recovery yet?
What advice would you give to another struggling teenager whose parents may not be even thinking about recovery?
I'd say get in contact with people who are going through that, like who people are in recovery. And I remember first time meeting you, I was low-key scared of you, not gonna lie, because your eyes scared me. And you started dinging on it. I'm like, is that what I don't know. But you know, just even if the kid has to start the connection with the people in recovery, so be it. Because even if my dad didn't get to know you guys ever or none like that, and I found out about you guys, I'll immediately like let him know on who you were. And like, I just say keep faith within your parents or uncles or grandparents. Keep faith in them because you know it's going to get better and you know it's going to be a much peaceful and better life when they get into that recovery phase. And they'll forever stay in that, which if you don't believe in them, who else will if they can't? So always have faith.
Good answer. Do you want to answer that?
It's kind of she's spot on all these questions, but kind of the same thing. You know, just be there for them if they aren't wanting that help. You know, just try to help them out. You know, through thick and thin, because at the end of the day, they're still your parents. You know, they got their own lives that they're going through. You know, and so yeah, just be their support and their ear to listen. So.
Yeah, I would agree with both of these young ladies. You know, plant that seed. You know, if anything, if you can't do any more, or I would just say plant that seed. Get in touch, like they were saying. Get in touch with Tor. Yeah, we'll help them. But if anything, plant that seed. Sometimes you just got to be frank with them and just say, "Have you ever thought about getting sober?" And sometimes that's a very uncomfortable conversation to have. But I mean, I feel like if a kid can tell you that, yeah, it's definitely obvious to the rest of the world. So, is there any more? Last question.
Is there anything more you would like to see Tor or Discovery or the tribe to help with youth to show them they have soul?
That's a good question. So, is there any more with Tor or Recovery Gourd Clan that you would like to see them get involved with the youth more?
Come to our meetings. We need you guys out there. We need you guys. Yeah, you guys are always gourd dancing, and I get to go with you guys. And I wish to bring my friends with me, but all of them don't know when you guys are gonna dance. And I try my best to let them know when and where, but my dad doesn't let me know. He said, "Oh, I'm not gonna go out there. No, I want to stay in bed." And I'm like,
UFC's on.
Alex Pereira's on. Hold on. But yeah, please come to our meetings and we'll try and fix something up. Like, Chop, come play a hand game with us. Hurry up. Like recovery parents going against their youth. Yeah. Just coming out.
Yeah.
Be with us. Tell them how it affected you guys and educate us on how on how deep it can really get, and show us that it's really possible to get out of it.
Mm.
That if you really put your mind into it and put all your devotion into it, you can really get out of it, because there's still kids out there going through it at
Oh, yeah.
young of an age. And yeah, just say, pull up. Don't be shy.
I like that. Yeah. So you just got to tell that guy right there. But Miss Flying Out, is there more that you wish you could see Tor or Recovery getting involved with the youth more?
I'd just say having a lot more kids come out, because I feel like our kind of hard thing is kind of just like something more or less for the adults and like what they're going through. So I think the thing I saw was y'all's culture closet.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Culture
it's called.
Closet.
Yeah, but that like stuff like that, like getting them more involved to do stuff like that's
It's a good start.
yeah, just having more kids a part of y'all's
Organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. So is there any shout outs you want to give out? Is there anything you would like to leave our audience with before we?
I just want to say shout out to my pops right there. Big greasy forehead right there. Y'all can see it. It's bright and shiny. David Levi for really keeping it up. And also Brittany for really being there. And for my dad and keeping him and each other connected. And really keeping each other from going back the old ways. And also, my uncle's here. Hi, Uncle. Hi, Uncle George. George Levi. He is like the most sacred guy I ever knew. He is like the natives, all natives. I swear. I mean, every time I come over, I always see something new. I always see a new deer head or something. And I'm looking at all the paintings and I'm like getting inspired from him.
Yeah.
And I can just see how my dad wants to be like him. And how I also want to be like him one day. So, yeah. Shout out to Emily to pull onto meetings with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Emmy's Council. Yeah.
I just want to thank you all for coming here today and, hearing us talk. It really is, it's just really good to know that people, are willing to listen to the stories that we hold. So I just want to say thank you. And then also thank you for, giving me this opportunity. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate, for the questions, we appreciate everybody that came out. And, hopefully we can do this soon again. So like, share, follow, tell your mammy about us, and we will see you tomorrow. I hope.